Hey, thanks so much for being here. I've wanted to make this video for a while because I wanted to give you guys a demonstration of how I've been running TouchOSC on an iPad to control my various guitar pedals in conjunction with my Morningstar MC8 foot controller. So you can see I have a bunch of different MIDI controlled guitar pedals, a bunch from Chase Bliss. I also have a Looperlative LP2 4-track looper. I have an HX stomp in the upper left-hand corner, and below that I have my Morningstar MC8. Up here I have an iPad, and that is what's running TouchOSC. You can see also that I have a camera adapter plugged into my iPad, and that allows me to send MIDI from the Morningstar up to TouchOSC, or send MIDI from TouchOSC down to the Morningstar and out to my guitar pedals. So I just wanted to show you that the camera adapter allows you to adapt from the regular lightning connection on the iPad to a USB-A connection. It also gives you a headphone and another lightning connection, so you can power it, have a headphone connection, and have USB-A, all with the single camera adapter. The USB-A connection is the most important in this setup because that allows me to connect the iPad with USB-A and a real long USB cable from USB-A on the camera adapter down to USB-B, which goes into the Morningstar foot controller. You can see that it's somewhat of a longer run from up here on the iPad on my bookshelf all the way down to the floor on my Morningstar foot controller. So it's nice to have a longer USB cable. It's super easy to get this set up. All you have to do is go into the editor page of TouchOSC, which you access by pressing the upper right-hand corner, which can sometimes be a little hard to get to work, but you don't have to go in here very often. And I wouldn't recommend doing any editing in the iPad for TouchOSC. I do all of my editing of TouchOSC control pages on a laptop. It's much easier to use a mouse or have a laptop to create my pages than to try to do it in the iPad. It's way more difficult. But when you open the editor, you can see on the far right you have the Wi-Fi symbol, and next to that a little link symbol and the play symbol. The play symbol would get me back to it being a regular controller, and I'll do that in a minute. But first, let's hit the link control, and that will open the different connections of TouchOSC. You can see you have MIDI connections, OSC connections, bridge connections, and gamepad connections, all available in the upper left-hand corner. When I'm set to MIDI, you can see that connection 1 is set on the send port and receive port to the Morningstar MC8. And all I needed to do to get the Morningstar MC8 to show up in there was to have the USB connection that I just described. So just connecting a USB-B to the Morningstar into the USB-A of the camera adapter and then plugging that into the iPad just recognizes that it's connected to the Morningstar MC8. And to make that setting, you just go into Browse and you select Morningstar MC8 for send port. You do the same thing for the receive port, and then you're all done. And you can leave this page by hitting done, and then you're back into the editor, but you can't do any controlling from the editor. So you hit the play button next to the link button, and that gets you back into TouchOSC as a regular MIDI controller. So one of the great things of having TouchOSC as a controller connected to my Morningstar is that the USB connection on the Morningstar will send and receive MIDI. So like I was saying, I can send MIDI from TouchOSC down into the Morningstar out to my pedals, or when I make an adjustment on the Morningstar, it'll make the similar adjustment in TouchOSC so I can see it like it's a dashboard. So you can see now I'm on my LP2 control page. I also have control pages for my other pedals. So this is for blooper and mood. The MC8 banks are in the lower left-hand corner. I have additional controls for the LP2 in the bottom right. Then I have a single page for all of the mood controls, which is really great. I'm going to turn off the dip switches that I was playing with before. I have a habit control page. I have a tonal recall control page, a theremin control page, and a brothers control page. And sooner or later, I'll get around to making control pages for all the rest of my Chase Bliss pedals, but these are the ones that I have so far. So getting back to the LP2 and the way that I use TouchOSC with the LP2, you can see that I have the tracks, the different LP2 tracks in the top. They're the very top boxes on my TouchOSC control page. So right now you can see I am on track 1, and it's dark blue on the LP2 upper light, just like you would expect for the LP2 to be set to track 1. If I go to track 2 on TouchOSC, it changes to yellow on the LP2. So I have these color-coded. So the lights that show up on the LP2 in conjunction with the tracks you have selected are the same way that I've color-coded my buttons. So track 3 is purple, just like the light is purple on the LP2. And if I go to track 4, it's also light blue like it is on the LP2. I can also change tracks on my Morningstar MC8. So on the MC8, you have 4 buttons on the top and 4 buttons on the bottom. So the 4 buttons on the top are my 4 different tracks. A single press will jump to each track. So you can see that as I jump through the different tracks on the MC8, it will change on the Looperlative, and it also changes in TouchOSC. Then on the bottom of the Morningstar, I have undo and redo, play and stop, and sync record. One of the other great things is if I select a track on the Morningstar, that also makes my expression pedal control the volume of the corresponding track. So you can see now I'm adjusting the volume of track 1, and I don't have to keep track of where I've set the volume for my individual tracks because I can see it show up just like a dashboard, like I was saying, on TouchOSC. So now I've adjusted the 3 tracks in the Looperlative that I'm using. I'll go ahead and adjust the 4th one just so you can... Oh, see, and I didn't really select track 4 when I just tried to. I went to move my expression pedal and I saw track 3 was moving, so I know I didn't quite get track 4. I press it again. Now I know it's on 4 because the display is showing that it's on track 4, and if I move my expression pedal, I can move the volume of track 4. And then if I want to re-zero everything out, it's very easy just to come back into the control page and drag the faders back up. I can go back to track 1. So it's real easy to make a bunch of adjustments with hands-on control from TouchOSC rather than having to do everything with your feet. I'm sure that you know that the Morningstar has, single button press functions, it has double button press functions, and it has long button press functions. So you can get a lot of functionality out of the Morningstar, but it can be really hard to keep track of what you're trying to do. And it can also be hard to know that you've really done a double press in the time that you want to. Sometimes if you're using a long press, that can be too long. Maybe you want to immediately delete something. Like I have long press on all of my track buttons set up to delete a track. But if I want to immediately delete a track, it's much easier to go to that track and then hit my track erase button, and it'll immediately erase that track. So now that I've gotten through most of my description and explanation of how I'm using it, I wanted to do a little demo of how I normally use TouchOSC to control my different pedals. So I pre-recorded tracks on my Looperlative, and I want to say that they're all synced tracks. So it's very convenient with the Looperlative LP2 that you can record tracks that are synced together, or you can record tracks that are out of sync. So if you want to record a chorus and a verse and a bridge, and they're all different lengths, it's better to use unsynced tracks and Q-track functions, which I can show in a later video. I have Q-track functions set up so that if I press Q-track, it'll, at the end of, say it's playing track 1, and I hit Q-track 2, at the end of track 1, it'll immediately go and start playing track 2. And in the last video that I made, you can see me use that function. So if you want to check that out, that's what I'm doing there. I'm using my Q-track functions. But here, I'm using synced tracks, so it's easier and more convenient just to use the regular track recall function. And that's what these buttons here on my Bank 8 are, on my Morningstar MC8 controller. So I just went to track 2, I just went to track 3, and go to track 4, and back to track 1. Now, as a part of my demonstration, I'm going to start playing what's on track 1. So this is what's on track 1, just a little guitar part that I created off camera. And I have a synced bass part on track 2. And I can start track 2 at any point because it's a synced track, and it'll drop in sync with track 1. So that's track 2. And then I can select track 3, and I can launch track 3. Now what's really great about this is that instead of like using overdub and undo and redo, there would be no way to get to just the third part. If you record something and then do 2 or 3 overdubs, there's no way to get to that last part by itself. But when you use sync tracks in the Looperlative, you can go back into track 1 and stop that one. You can go into track 2 and stop that one. And now I'm just playing track 3. So I have that track in isolation, which I find is really cool, so that sometimes I'll record different synced parts, but then I'll break them out and use them as 3 different sections of a song. One of the other great functions that I love to use in the Looperlative, and I wanted to talk a little bit about, was the accept function. And you can see I have accept right here below track 2. And if I am on track 3 and I hit accept and then I press play stop, it's going to play track 1 and 2, but it won't do anything to track 3 because I've accepted that track. So now I've added track 1 and 2 back to track 3 by using the accept function. I can stop them again, go back to track 3 alone, and bring them back. And because they're sync tracks, you can do that at any point in the loop. Very fun. So if I wanted to strip out to just track 2, I could go to track 2, hit accept, and press play. And now I have just track 2 playing. And I can bring them back. And I could go to just track 1. Oh, I stopped track 1 because I forgot to hit accept. So I'll start it again. I'll go make sure I'm on track 1. I'll hit accept and I'll hit play. Now I'm back to track 1. I also have a track recorded on my blooper, and the Looperlative conveniently sends out Midi timecode. So once you set a loop and it's driving Midi timecode, it'll send Midi timecode to all the rest of my Chase Bliss pedals. So it makes it really easy to use the blooper right in sync with a track or all the tracks on the Looperlative. And the blooper conveniently responds to MIDI play and MIDI stop, just like it was a drum machine or any other MIDI device that accepts MIDI play and MIDI stop. So when I'm on track 1, it's now my main track, and it was the first one that I recorded, so it's the one that blooper is in sync to. So if I hit MIDI play, it's going to start my blooper. Once it comes back around to the top, so you can hear that lead track is on the blooper, and it's playing with track 1. And if I wanted to bring the other tracks back in, I could go into them individually and start them. Or I could be on track 1, hit accept, and then toggle them in and out together. I can stop the blooper with MIDI stop, and then go back to just track 1. You can also use a great function on the Looperlative called all track. And all track will let you, it will do, so if track 1 is playing and I select all track and then I hit play, it's going to stop track 1, but it's going to start track 2 and 3. So we can hear that. So now I'm running track 2 and track 3, and I've stopped track 1. And if I do it again, I go back to track 1. So all track is a really convenient, powerful function in the LP2 as well. And if I want to bring them back in sync, I can go back to track 1, hit accept, hit play, and now they're all playing. I can bring the looper back in on top of it as well. And then one of the more fun things that I like to do is use the mod controls of the blooper to add some variation to the blooper loop. And it's very convenient that you have the ramp on and off as a MIDI control of the blooper. So you can use ramping, but you can also shut it off right from MIDI control, which I have this button here for. So that would be ramping on. This is ramping off, and now that ramping is off, I'm going to turn on my A mod that is assigned to pitch control here with my switch control. So this is like the switch all the way to the left, center, and to the right. And my right section is selected to the pitch control, and I can turn that on here, and I can adjust the pitch of my blooper loop. And I can turn it on and off. Something I really like to do is do that and then quantize replace parts of one of my loops in the LP2, because my Looperlative is running before my LP2. I can also run the blooper through my mood pedal, my habit pedal, or my theremin, because the blooper is before those pedals in my signal flow. So I'm going to strip down to just track 1 and the blooper, so it's a little easier to hear what's going on. I can turn on a mood preset. I can make adjustments in the mood right here from the touchpad without having to bend down to make these adjustments. And conveniently, the mood allows you to turn on or off all of the dip switches as well. So I can turn on dip switches or turn them off. Really create some interesting sounds as I'm playing back my blooper loop. I can turn off the mood from here. I can go in and turn on habit. I can adjust presets. And I can control any of the knobs on the habit right here with MIDI from my TouchOSC controller. It's a lot of fun to play with. I can also turn on my theremin and bounce through some of the different presets in the theremin. You can really, with the TouchOSC, you can really jump through presets really quickly. And it gives you a good way to manage what you have on different presets. Or save multiple presets. Because on the pedals, you can only save 2 presets at a time. I can adjust any of my knob positions. I can go back into Blooper and undo those modifications that I made. And then one of the more fun things that I like to do is to use the Quantize replace function that you can see right here below track 3 to drop little pieces of the blooper loop into my Looperlative loop. So before I do that, I want to make sure that I have an undo and redo layer so that I can get rid of it if I don't like it. So I'll go back into Blooper, I'll undo, so I make sure I'm on the regular blooper loop. I'll turn off habit, so it's just the blooper loop and the LP2 loop. And now I'm going to record the blooper loop into track 1 on the LP2 by hitting this record dub while I have track 1 selected. Wait for the top. And I'm going to use Midi stop to stop it right at the end so I don't double it up. So now I have the blooper loop recorded into the LP2. I'm going to stop the LP2 from recording. And now I can undo that recording. So I'm back down to just what I had originally on track 1. And I can redo it and bring it back. And then, like I was saying, I can start the blooper with Midi play, go back into the blooper and redo those changes so that I'll have that variation. I'm going to turn on habit as well, so it's really sort of crazy. Make some adjustments till I like what I'm hearing. And then I can go back into the LP2 with my track selection on track 1, and if I hit Quantize replace or the regular replace, it'll drop chunks of the blooper loop into track 1. Let's try that now. So I did 3 real quick. I'll do another one and another one. And then I'm going to stop the blooper loop, and we'll hear those chunks jump out as it goes through the loop. And because I have this on a redo layer, I can press redo again and get back to what I originally had on track 1 on the LP2. And I can jump around between them. If I go back to the original loop and I hit undo, I'll get rid of the last Quantize replace insertion that I made. And it'll go back to that layer as well. I can go back and redo and go back to the original track 1. And I can remove another of the Quantize replace chunks. And then if I wanted to bring track 2 and 3 back in on top of it, I would hit track 1, hit accept, and press play. Now I have them all running together. There are a bunch of different things you can play around with like this with the LP2. I really think it is a fantastic looper, and it gives you a bunch of different controls and ways that you can play with things. I can stop the other two tracks. I can go back to the original track. If I go back to track 1 without accept, I can reverse track 1. I can unreverse it. I can bring my changes back. You also get functions like fast scramble, medium scramble, slow scramble. I have half speed, pitch up, my bounce controls, fade and swell. I have the shrink and stretch functions. There are so many functions that there are in the LP2. It's great to have them all laid out on this control page so that I can play with them whenever I want to. So if I wanted to hear what it would sound like to scramble this track, I can try that. And by pressing it again, it'll unscramble it. That did make me lose my redo layer, though, I do believe. Yeah, the redo layer now became the scramble. So you have to watch what you do to make sure that you can still get back to where you want, or you aren't removing things that you intend to use later in your jam or whatever you're recording. But I hope this has been helpful. I find it super fun to play with these different things, and I hope you guys do too. And I hope you got something out of this video. And if you did, please consider liking it. Please consider subscribing. And if you want to drop me a comment, I'm happy to share my control pages that I've built with anyone who wants to send me a comment. We can figure out how to get in touch, and I'll send you a link where you can download them. I find it super helpful. TouchOSC is a very inexpensive application. I think it's only $15. And you only really need to buy it for the iPad. You can use it for free on the laptop. So when you're doing your editing and stuff, you don't need to buy the purchased version for your laptop. I only have the purchased version for my iPad. So I hope this was interesting for you guys. I hope you got something out of it. Maybe it gave you some ideas of how you want to use MIDI control in your studio for looping or other things. And I just wanted to say thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys again. Thanks so much. Bye.